Hi, I'm Rebecca McLaughlin Eastham in Dubai, and welcome to Business Line, coming to you this month from the Global Business Forum on Africa. Now in its fifth edition, this two-day event explores the challenges and the opportunities associated with doing business in Africa, with many companies looking to the continent as the next big investment frontier.
The rise in technology and a changing political landscape appears to have boosted confidence in Africa on the whole, be it reformist leaders such as Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who received this year's Nobel Peace Prize, or the signing of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement almost 2 years ago, which is set to create one of the world's largest single markets for goods and services.
The UAE is one of several countries looking to strengthen its ties with the continent. Now, this could be music to the ears of some African leaders who already consider Dubai something of a blueprint for how to develop their own economies.
The UAE is reviving one of the world's most ancient trade routes, having established itself not only as a key gateway into Africa, but also the continent's second largest foreign investor after China.
If you look at One Belt, One Road, there's a big push for the UAE government, the Chinese government, and African governments to actually link those three regions together.
In 2018, non-oil exports and re-exports from the UAE into Africa reached around 18 billion euros. Many of these would have traveled via DP World, which operates in 7 African countries. Africa represents 10% of the port giant's global revenue, and it's growing. But there are other UAE players active on the continent.
Al Ghurair, their printing division, does a really massive African business, from voters' cards to passports to even currency that they actually print in Dubai for Africa.
These businesses and others like logistics leader Agility are tapping into Dubai's links with Africa.
When we look at the major markets that Agility is expanding into, Emirates goes to all of these destinations, or there's good connections.
But there are challenges when dealing with any emerging markets, and many companies need guidance on how to best conduct their business on the ground.
I think once you're able to get that right as a business is when you're able to actually, properly succeed in Africa.
African companies are attracted to Dubai because of its expertise in areas such as infrastructure and construction. There are some 21,000 of them in the Emirate, up by almost a quarter in just 2 years. Key incentives include tax breaks as well as access to visas and Islamic finance.
As big as 50%, require Islamic and Sharia compliant financing documents. We've seen it in the technological space as well as in other areas, and sometimes that involves a more innovative approach.
While the UAE wants to trade with Africa on the whole, there are also opportunities in its own backyard.
Imagine a zone of a common market between countries on the Red Sea, on the Africa side and the GCC side, with leadership from the UAE, for instance. Currently, you have a few flashpoints in terms of geopolitical issues. When those issues are resolved, I think you're going to see a huge opportunity and tremendous growth just in the Red Sea region alone.
Something that could further unlock the UAE's untapped export potential in Africa.
Let's dig a little deeper now into the UAE's business ties with Africa. Earlier, I caught up with the man ultimately responsible for putting this event together, and I began by asking him, why is Africa so important to the UAE's future?
When you look at the trade with the world, maybe in the past 5 years, it's been either flat or negative with many parts, but with Africa, it's continued growing. Almost doubled. What we've been doing more is really to get somebody like Carrefour, and instead of selling to Africa, but establish in big markets like Nairobi or even Tanzania, and they are looking with us into Ethiopia, 100 million population. This is 10 times what we have here in UAE. This is something we want to do more of. We want to be in the ground. How can we bring solutions to the challenges in Africa? Financing is not easy, but we believe if they package it in the right way, if they get the right advice, the right business model, they come here to Dubai, they'll be able to have a network of venture capitalists who have a lot of interest in Africa, but honestly, they don't know how to get to Africa because it's complicated. But this is more of partnership with African. Let the African do it. You fund them, be part of it.
Given the current global economic situation, can I ask you how you view the investment climate, not just in Africa, but also the UAE?
Well, I would say for the region, including UAE, it has limitations. So definitely investors always look for opportunities elsewhere. Africa has certain uncertainties, certain risks, but also it has the appetite. We have a good track record since 2012 of most of our investors who went to the places we identified. They've been very satisfied with the returns they were able to accomplish in these countries. I want this model to be applied into other emerging markets, whether Latin America or Oceania or Central Asia.
More than 1,500 people registered for this year's Global Business Forum on Africa, ranging from heads of state to business leaders to young entrepreneurs.
How does a continent of over 1 billion people scale up? That's the central theme as industry experts gather to exchange ideas and experiences in the UAE.
My mentor has been amazing. He understands the nature of what we're trying to also do in Nigeria and expand into the UAE.
Dubai, as an emirate, believes collaborations like these could benefit both its own economy and Africa's, as a new exciting chapter appears to be opening up.
People in Africa are innovating to respond to all manner of things, from fighting crime to children's education, food security, everyday transportation to emergency response.
Going into 2020, traditional sectors like mining and agriculture will remain key drivers of growth as Africa also looks to establish itself as a manufacturing base. Electricity access still is a big challenge, while a new political landscape is emerging.
So if you look at Angola, South Africa, the leadership stability in Kenya, that there are new leaders, new frontier men that can chart a more constructive course for the continent.
But that road could prove an uphill battle for Ethiopia's internationally celebrated Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Though his country was Africa's fastest growing economy in 2018, it's grappling with ethnic tensions.
He really wants to persevere despite these challenges that are, emerging in different parts of the country. And the society as a whole is really moving forward, and that doesn't mean that the road is going to be smooth.
So a mixed picture as Africa enters a new decade that could prove its most prosperous so far.
Well, that's all that we have time for in this special edition of Business Line from the Global Business Forum on Africa in Dubai. We hope you enjoyed the show, and do join me again next time for a roundup of the biggest business and investment stories from around the world. I'll catch you then.